Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all my friends out in TV land. I know the show is seen at different times, so I want to greet all of you. This is Senior Issues, etc. I'm your host, Vita Verdon, and I have an extremely interesting show for you today. A very interesting person is with me who has really helped to launch this show. Now, in the year 2000, when we started Senior Issues, etc., we started and we weren't really an organization. To tell you the truth, it was an idea that we just gave it a shot in the dark, and we really didn't get all that much encouragement, and so we only had enough material for 2 shows, but we weren't certified in anything. And much to our amazement and delight, the show hit right off the bat because we got so much press, and I think it was more than me just being there. It was a sign of the times that we were giving something to the community that wasn't done before, and they enjoyed the information. So after the show hit, I didn't know how to get certified or what the next step would be. So one thing that I know that I'm good at is researching something. I went to the College of Lake County, up here in Lake County where we originated the show, and I saw a woman by the name of Alicia in the Small Business Bureau. And I told her what my situation was, and maybe she could get me somebody from SCORE that would help me and educate me on what the next step would be in order to get certified. And after she heard what we were doing, she said, I'll do you one better than that. I'll hook you up with a foundation that I'm sure will really help you. And in helping you, they will help you to get certified. So she gave us the name of an organization, and it's called Lawyers for the Creative Arts. And 3 of us, the producer, Gloria Shapiro, and the director at that time, Selby Hussey, the 3 of us took a trip down to, it's called Institute Place, downtown. It's close to Wells Street. And we went to see what this foundation was all about. And we met with a man by the name of Bill Rattner, who's the executive director of this organization. And it's our privilege to have him as a guest on this show today, and I know what you want to hear. Everything about the organization and everything up close and personal about him. Bill, it's so nice to have you
thank you
finally
for having me.
come on the show.
Thank you. It's
After
my
all
pleasure.
this time.
It's my pleasure.
So what our audience wants to hear is the inside scoop on who you are, where you live, and are you married? Do you have kids? They want to know all this stuff.
Well, okay, we can start with that and get that out of the way.
Okay.
I am an attorney. I have been for many, many years. I live in Evanston with my wife. My son is grown, and we have 2 granddaughters. I have been with Lawyers for the Creative Arts, or LCA, now since 2000, not long before you came to meet us.
Before you do anything, I want you to blow a kiss to your wife and your grandchildren.
Okay, hi everybody.
Blow a big one.
Good to see
and
you all.
And for your grandchildren, too.
Them particularly. I'll be seeing them in a day.
Okay.
And how I got started with this, or
yeah, well, how did you get started with
Well,
Lawyers for the Creative Arts?
I was an attorney practicing in Chicago for over 35 years, and I just was through with that. And I wanted to continue working and continue doing, real serious work, and I wanted to be in the nonprofit sector.
I'm going to ask you a personal question. Were you close to retirement age at that time when you started? The new venture?
Yes, in fact. Now, supposedly law firms don't have hard and fast retirement ages. But in fact, they do. In fact, they like the older partners to kind of make room. And it coincides with most people in these firms wanting to end it. There aren't that many who want to keep working into their late years. And that was certainly my case. And I wanted to stop just doing the same thing I'd done for all those years, but not stop everything. So I wanted to work in the nonprofit field and started looking around. And probably as most people find everything, you network around and you tell people what you want, and you're never quite sure where that opportunity will come from.
Right.
And an old friend of mine who had been involved with Lawyers for the Creative Arts said, look, why don't you come with us? We need someone to run this place. And you know.
Well, let's open it up here, because just the title, Lawyers for the Creative Arts, that's like a whole universe. You know, why don't you explain the name, first of all?
This, the organization was formed almost 40 years ago, 1972, certainly well before me. And the people who formed it at that time, I think, wanted to limit it to the same sorts of things we do today, which is the everything to do with the visual arts, painting, drawing, photography, and the performing and entertaining arts, such as all forms of music, theater, dance, any kind of production, and there have been quite a variety. A lot of literary work, people who write, people who want to be published, of course, TV work, and now all sorts of things that involve the internet, because all of those things I mentioned get involved with the internet.
Right.
And it creates a lot of problems. The last kind of major category, we also do arts education. We do groups that do arts education, groups like yours that do TV shows, regional arts centers, big and little arts centers for communities. Who else comes to us? And then the last major area of legal work has to do with not-for-profit organizations. We do represent for-profits.
You do?
Sure. If a band comes to us or a performer comes to us and wants to make it in the business, sure, we'll help them. They have nowhere else to go, really. And we certainly will help people who are trying to make it in business, but we also help all sorts of nonprofits, of which we are one. We are a not-for-profit organization. Yeah.
And so then there's qualifications for that. To
who we serve?
Yeah.
We are a pro bono, which means no charge for the benefit of the public, a pro bono legal service organization. There are many that do all sorts of different legal service for people. We are the only one that is limited to the arts. And so when people in all these other organizations get matters that involve the arts, they usually send them to us. Who would qualify for pro bono service?
That's my next question that I was going to ask.
On an individual basis, we serve not only individuals but organizations of all kinds. We try to limit this to individuals with a household income of around $35,000.
That isn't so low.
It is not so low, and believe me, particularly in the arts, there are no shortage of people who make that financial qualification.
Right.
For a not-for-profit organization, if a not-for-profit organization or a charity came to us, we would not charge them with a budget around $350,000. Above that, we may have to charge.
But that's sort of, it's not written in stone.
My idea of it is that we want to be inclusive of who we help rather than exclusive. So if someone is close to these limits, we'll try and help them.
Uh-huh. I imagine that since it's such a wide scope, that it keeps expanding all the time.
There's
no limit.
I mean, to the types of matters,
Uh-huh.
there is no limit. It is amazing the variety of activities our clients are in.
Uh-huh.
It's beyond what you can imagine because they're constantly dreaming up new things to do.
Uh-huh. Well, this certainly must you must be benefiting from it because you look exactly the same as when I met with you, like it's close to 12 years ago. It is 12 years ago.
Well, I don't have to tell you because you are a prime example of this and all the other people who work with you. Keep going. Keep going. I will say that most of the people I practice with, most of the attorneys my age are retired.
And your age is 39?
A little over that.
Well, how much?
75.
75, good for you. And we're going to hold it there because now I'm going to come up with my Vita's Pearls of Wisdom. Now, I have a mixed bag for you today. First of all, I've been wanting to have this show for a long time because, you know, here at Senior Issues, we're all volunteers. And I'm always telling you, you know, if we could do it, you could do it too. And if you have an idea, you know, what keeps this thing going up here, these little gray cells, like Perot says on all those mystery shows, keep those gray cells going, is if you do something creative. And you know what's creative? If you get an idea that you love, that you just love, 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 and you take that idea and spring it from this non-material kind of thing out, and you could articulate that, believe me, there's somebody around, if you pursue it, that will help you. And in the pursuing of it, you'll find out how much you will grow from it. Now, since we started the show, I never thought that I could be writing subjective matter to get a 501c3 or do my own grant writing or to do all the jobs that we've had to do. So it's been a growth experience. And remember, your body can deteriorate because of age, but to keep your brain going, you have to use it or else you'll lose it. And the biggest detriment to it is worry. And I'm going to just give you a little poem about worry and what worry does for you. Let's think of it this way. If you have a paper and pencil, I want you to write this down right now. And as you're like your Tanta Rose, I'm commanding you to do it because this will help you. Worry is like an old man with a head that's bent, carrying a load of feathers and thinking it's lead. That's what worry is. It does nothing for you. So you only have today to flourish. Stay in today and take that idea that you have and bring it out and develop it. And it doesn't matter what your age is, just continue it and you'll be surprised. This show, I never thought it would be online because I didn't know what online was at that time. I didn't know that I would be going online and doing anything. But this is what development does. Now, another thing is in this winter season that it is right now, I wanted to give a little tip. And the tip is if it's real icy outside and you're not sure-footed and you have to use a cane, if you go into any kind of a medical supply store, what they have is a little apparatus that you put on the cane and you can flip it up or you can flip it down. And what it has on it is if you're walking in ice and snow, it's got little spikes on it that goes into the ground to help you stay sure-footed. And they'll install it, they'll put it on in the store for you, and they range in price from $7 to $10. So it's not a great big expense, and it's something that will prevent you from falling. Another thing, in your house, if you have those little carpets in the bathroom or before your door or anything like that, pick them up and get rid of them, because that's one of the biggest causes of falls. And take any little step stools you've got around your apartment and check the bottom of them to see that they're not broken or something hasn't fallen off. Now, that's all I have for you today, and we're going to get right back into our subject matter of how these creative lawyers go about helping people. Let's get right back on it.
Good.
So now let's go into some of the people that you've helped.
Okay, what we do, as I said, the areas are the visual arts, all of the entertaining, performing arts, literary arts, etc. If you wanted to take your visual artists, people who paint or draw or photographers. Mainly the kind of work we do is similar to what we did for your group. We will help people, advise them on getting started with their organizations. Be they corporations or not-for-profit corporations, help them get organized in some business sense. Secondly, we do contracts of every imaginable kind. I cannot tell you the variety of contracts.
Is that one of your biggest areas?
That is indeed one of our biggest areas, because everyone who is out there and dealing with other people, you really should have some kind of fairly simple contract, because I tell the artists of all kinds, when you think you're artists, but everyone you're dealing with, they know they're in business. And if they're dealing from a business-like standpoint, you had better be aware of it too. And
so you bring them into the business savvy.
We try and bring that to them, exactly.
Now that is a good thing.
That's important for them to think, well, I'm a dancer or I'm a singer, but you're in the business of dancing. You're in the business of music.
So you have to consider, you have to really sharpen up the business and to allow the creative end to flourish.
Yeah, let them at least
really
be acquainted with that.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about, I know, and I had a woman on the show who had written a book, and she self-published it.
Yeah, well,
that's big today.
That's very big today, and it's very opportune that you mention that, because we are going to be sponsoring. I think it's February 12. Around then, it's on a Saturday. I may have the date wrong. An all-day conference on self-publishing. Self-publishing is now the dominant method of publishing. The publishing companies, the traditional
they're cutting back, right?
They are cutting back, and it is, I'm told, extremely difficult for any new writer to get something published in a publishing house. The self-publishing business has become the dominant force in publishing, and there are a lot of things you have to know. It's very successful, and we're presenting this program down at the John Marshall Law School a couple Saturdays from now.
Now, do you have a website? We
do. Our website is www.law-arts.org.
Okay, you want to give it one more time?
Yes, law-arts.org.
And how about if somebody wanted to email you?
They can email me either at info@law-arts.org, or they can send an email directly to me, which is WRATTNER at law-arts.org.
Now, I know we were talking earlier, and you said at the time that I had come, you had just entered into this. And you were the person that interviewed myself and Gloria and Selby at that time. And we were nervous as could be. And you were so reassuring to us that this was a good idea and that we should pursue it. It gave us the impetus to go forward with it, and you farmed it out to a downtown lawyer, Nino Taraje, from Nolan and Taraje, and he worked with us for a year and a half on incorporating us to get our 501c3 and we're a non-for-profit charitable production company.
Right.
And we've been that for about the last 10 and a half years.
Well, that's a good illustration of how we operate. Our office is quite small, as you
Yes.
as you remember. We refer. We're a referral agency, not a law firm particularly, and we refer most of the matters to our panel of attorneys. We have hundreds of volunteer attorneys who willingly give their time, their talent, like Nino, with you, and stay with it. And so we have, as I say, hundreds of attorneys who have just about every specialty in the law available. And so we meet with the client, we determine what they need, and we find them the attorney to take it. And that's all pro bono. We do have like a $50 processing fee just to keep us in business, but that's all. And the attorneys don't charge. We do some of the work in-house within our office if it's not too time-consuming or anything like that.
If it doesn't go on like for a year.
Right, because that would keep us from helping other people. So
to form it into a corporation and that is a lengthy process.
Well, forming a corporation is pretty simple, but getting a tax exemption is what's lengthy and hard.
Yeah.
What we do now, and I do a lot of this, we started, and it might have been after I met you in 2000, we now give workshops. Instead of helping people by getting them a tax exemption, we give a workshop about 6 times a year. And those are on our website, or you can call us and get the information.
And we're in your office?
In our office, and people come, and we show them how to get these tax exemptions themselves.
Oh, that was after.
That's after you.
Yeah.
And I must have 100 or 125 people a year who do this, and they get their tax exemptions. We've been very successful with it.
Do you give workshops on grant writing?
Not on grant writing. That you should maybe go to the donors forum or someone. We stick pretty much with legal issues, like we're doing this self-publishing seminar or my workshops on tax exemption. We are available to speak to groups. We must do that 35 or 40 times a year. We make presentations to groups.
Now, you make presentations on what subject matter?
Whatever they need. I know we have done a lot on
legal matters?
Yeah, we do a great deal on intellectual property. People who come to us.
Would you explain what intellectual properties are? Let's go into that, because that's an important area.
It is. That's one of the biggest things we do. It's typically copyright and trademark for artists. If they are painters or writers, musicians or anything, either they want to use someone else's work or someone else is using their work. And both of that involves copyright. And they need advice on how to protect their works and how to keep from infringing upon somebody else's work. That's all copyright. The trademark area is pretty much some mark that identifies your work, like the title of a book or the name of your organization or something of that nature.
Like the name of the show here, that would be
Senior
our
Issues.
intellectual property.
That's a trademark, Senior Issues.
Yeah.
And we do.
So that's a trademark.
We do a tremendous amount of copyright and contracts, helping people get their businesses going, and a certain amount of disputes. There are people who have disputes. They do work in this field and they're not paid, or there's a dispute as to who owns what when they break up, that sort of thing.
Or say if somebody went into a situation and they just had an oral contract. Does that constitute a dispute?
That in itself doesn't, but there might well be a dispute as to what their agreement is. Because the trouble with oral agreements is they're not permanent. People's memory can change. People can leave the business, become disabled, move away. When you have it in writing and both people sign it, it's clear what they've agreed upon. That's why we encourage it.
All right. Now, say somebody is viewing the show and they have an idea should they package their idea or just contact you, or could they just verbalize this idea with you?
If it's really a good idea, you need some help to protect that idea, because ideas are not protectable. Only the expression of ideas.
Now, would you explain that?
Yes,
Because that's
so
tricky.
I get an idea. Gee, I think it would be a very interesting book to have a young man meet a young woman, and they fall in love, then they fall out of love, and they get back in love. That's just an idea. There's nothing protectable about that. You can ask Shakespeare. There's nothing protectable. But if I write that book, if I actually write that book or that short story, that is protected, because that's my expression of the idea, not just the idea.
Oh, I got it. Thanks so much for explaining that. Now, another thing I'd like to ask you is, where does your passion lie? What are you getting out of this? Because here you are, 75, and you're going strong, and you love it.
It's just the idea of keeping going. I think this is what you tell your audiences all the time. Don't stop. Keep going. And also, I think the major difference between what I was doing professionally, what I'm doing now, is I'm doing it for people who can't begin to afford regular attorneys. They have no place else to turn, really, with small matters. We'll spend the time with somebody who's owed $200. Because they need the $200 and have nowhere to go. And so when you do pro bono work like we do, you're helping people who can't get it elsewhere.
So there's a certain gratification to it.
A great deal.
Right. So you know what I want you to do? I want you to give your website one more time, because this has been such vital information. This is information that's hard to find.
Well, the best way to get to us or set up an appointment or anything is through our website, which is www.law-arts.org. O-R-G.
One more time. I want that to get across.
law-arts.org. And the organization is Lawyers for the Creative Arts. And if you Google anything that's kind of close to that, you'll find us.
And how about, you know what, I'd like to go further, but do we have to end it now? When you come to the end of your rope, you know what you do? You tie a knot and you hang on. Do you know why? Because the best is yet to come. What we want you all to do this week is catch the spirit. We love you.